Well, good morning, everybody. Robert Phoenix here, broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg. Thank you for hanging out, being a little bit patient today. I had a little bit of a channel crisis, as it were. I was over on my other channel. You know, having two channels takes a little bit of handiwork. You got to make sure I'm on the right channel. What's going on, White Wolf 28? Top of the morning to you. Hello, Judy. How are you? I was not on the show yesterday because I was in town. Yesterday was the first day of early voting here in the state of Texas. So, as some of you may know, I'm part of a group called Clean Water Fredericksburg. And we went out to, two of us went out to City Hall. And that's where the voting polls or the voting booths were. And we went out there to get signatures to get our initiative to get the water out of the fluoride. Yeah, let's just drink straight fluoride. No, to get the fluoride out of the water here in Fredericksburg. And, you know, this is part of a much larger movement. Just up the road from us is a town called San Marcos, and they put in considerable effort to have the fluoride moved from their water supply, and they did it. They got it done. And as a result of that, the water supplies in Kyle and Buda, which are just downstream from San Marcos, well, they got the fluoride taken out as well. I mean, it's a good ride for Kyle and Buda. Buda had to do a few things to kind of further that agreement to have the hydrofluoric silicic acid removed from their water supply. And they did, and it's a real success story. So they've passed the baton off to us, and we're working on getting the fluoride out of the water here in Fredericksburg. And I'll be talking about this over the course of the next few months and giving you some insights into what it's like to be on the ground and working for change at a local level, because this is something I've been preaching for a while. So I thought I'd just practice what I preach and get involved and see where we can drive this thing. So that's where it's going. Maybe I should turn my hat around today. Should I turn my hat around today? How's that? Do I like that? I kind of like the frontward facing hat today. Some days you just feel like frontward facing hat. Other days it's backwards ball cap. Anyway, it was a really interesting experience. Oh, look who's here. There he is, the J-Man. Hi. Say hi, Jasper. Yeah. Right on cue. One of the internet's most popular alternative news cats. Right there. Yeah. You've heard that guy, Truth Cat Radio? This is the real Truth Cat right here. He's the real Truth Cat. Jasper is the truth. Okay, Jasper. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for checking in with your fan base. Jasper gets more likes than I do on Facebook. It's true. I don't begrudge him. He's earned his likes. Look at this. He's earned his likes. J-Man. Yeah, he's the J-Man. He's got a bunch of names. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. All right. So this is a very interesting experience going into town yesterday. Hey, what's going on, Ninth House Gypsy? I can relate to that Ninth House part. So it was a really interesting experience going into town yesterday to get the signatures. To be a part of the democratic process. Wow. And, you know, I deride big government, and I think there's a lot of derision that big government has, that it has coming to it, because, you know, it's basically corrupt and gangs and ties. Hey, Beth, good morning to you. But the local scene is something I've been really, you know, espousing. So here I am. I'm living in a town where I think there's like maybe 9,000 people at the most, and we're working on this effort to get 370 signatures on a petition so that we can get a basically a city charter amendment. So yesterday I went out there, and it was early on. It was pretty good. I got a lot of signatures, a fair amount for the amount of time. Doing pretty well. And then, you know, I started to kind of understand the demographics in this town, and to some extent, even like this part of the country for Texas. So let me break it down for you. Let me give you the bird's eye view of what happened. So I found that the people that were most receptive to this idea that we could take fluoride out of the water were young people. Young people, they got it. They're like, man, I'm in. Let's do it. Boom, done. The older people, and the older people are actually kind of a political force in this town, in this county. For the most part, they didn't want anything to do with it. They didn't want to be bothered. They didn't want to be talked to. And to me, this is really representative of the right and the Republicans and the conservative party, or the conservative faction of the Republican Party, and in many ways, the silent majority, because this is where people from that demographic really started to sort of have a face for me, right? Because I've talked about them quite a bit, because we know they're out there, but they really had a face in a lot of ways. And they're my sense is that they just wanted to be kind of left alone, which I've talked about, and let me vote the way I want to vote. Please don't tell me what to do, what to think about. And they, and I'm not telling them to vote for the Communist Party or anything, even remotely. I just want to get the damn, industrial fluoride out of the water. And they were not, they weren't all that receptive in a lot of ways. They just weren't all that receptive. And that's fine, but it gave me a face to this demographic that, and by the way, they were out in force. They comprised a lot of the early voting. They just want to get in there, man. And maybe they want to get it done. They got nothing else to do, although that seems hard to believe. But I think they also wanted to get their message heard and get, sort of begin to have some kind of energetic impact, or impact the polls or whatever. And I know for a fact that the majority of these people are going to be voting on the right. You just feel it, right? You just absolutely feel it. But they are not in any way, shape, or form active or involved in any kind of activism. They're just not. It was really the young people that were very, very receptive to the types of things that we were talking about. And then there were people who were, it's really fascinating human study. This woman said, well, I haven't heard about this. It's not on the news. Well, where the fuck do you think it's going to be? Right? Hey, what's going on, Sophia? It's not on the news. This is the first I've ever heard about it. When you see people like that, okay, what are these NPCs? The non-performing characters, right? They're background characters in video games. That's like the latest meme is the NPC. When you talk to somebody like that and they say, I've never heard about it, all of a sudden they're like, you are an NPC, aren't you? You are a non-performing character. You're just a background character. And then there's some people who are just carry so much fear. I mean, so much fear. It's incredible. Like, you go up to talk to them and they shrink. You can just watch their bodies go, their energy bodies go like that, right? Let me alone. Don't talk to me. Leave me alone. Don't talk to me. Watching that happen, because, I'm not just there trying to get, signatures. Like, I'm reading everybody, I mean, I'm reading everybody. This is where do I go with this? I'm clocking everybody all the time, right? I'm reading their energy body. I'm reading all kinds of stuff. So I'm not just out there getting sick. It's very interesting, and then I watch myself. Like, am I being too slick? Am I being too glib? You got to step it down, tone it down. This is Texas, right? I don't want to come across as being too glib. So this one woman, I've never heard about it in the news. Where the fuck have you been living? If it's not in the news, it's probably not newsworthy. Okay. Maybe we should make some news. I almost did. I almost got arrested yesterday. It was Oh, we got a cat fight going on right now. Rosie does not like all the attention Jasper's getting. But I'm not gonna show you. Because you know what'll happen if I show this cat fight? People are gonna get really upset with me. Why did you let them fight? You're not a good cat owner. You should take those cats away. Austin, Texas. Sorry, can't talk right now. Anyway, I almost got arrested because we were told by one of our mentors for this process that we could stand right next to the door where people walk in and vote because we're not on the ballot. I'm like, okay, well, cool, we'll do that. So we did it, and maybe about half an hour, NPCs clumping crowds, no authority, go along, get along. It's exactly what they are, Stephen. It was total NPC. Anyway, so we're sitting there, and about a half hour into the signature process, this guy walks up and starts talking to this one of the women that was part of our core group, and he starts harassing her and hassling her about political laws and electioneering and all this other stuff. Right? Of course, he didn't come up to me. You know, that would have been a whole different level of confrontation. Not that I would have fought the guy or anything, but you know, I'm not a shrinking violet at times. Anyway, he comes up to her and starts, grilling her, and I'm thinking maybe she's going to get a signature out of the deal, but no, he wants to play the election cop. Good morning, Ani. He wants to play the election cop. So he splits, and then about maybe 5 minutes later, this woman comes out and says, "You're going to have to move." I'm like, "Why? We can be here. We're not on the ballot. You know, we're not influencing how people are voting. So you're just going to have to move." I'm like, "No, we're not going to move." And I said, show me where it says in the Texas voter code that we can't be here. Go ahead, go find it. She goes running off. They are called pre-Adamic, do not have an eternal soul. Yes, I know. They do not. Cannot tell who they are, who aren't, because we are all to become clear program and reaction. Yeah. Morning, Indigo and Kale Hart. So she goes running off. And then the next one comes. You can't be here. You can't be here. She goes, vehemently. She takes the sign and says, "You've got to be behind the sign." Boom. And she has some energy. Woo. She's fired up. So I'm not going behind that sign. We're not on the ballot. We can be here. We can talk to people about this. So, well, I'm going to go talk to so-and-so. She goes off, and 5 minutes later, here comes so-and-so. All three women, right? And she comes out, man, she's fired up. She's even more fired up than the first two. And she said, "Well, if you want, I'll get a sheriff and he'll remove you." I said, Fine, go get the sheriff. Sure enough, the sheriff comes walking down the steps with another guy, Now I'm dealing with guys with guns. And I told him, I said, "Look, we're not on the ballot. We can be here." And they don't know, right? They don't know. The burden of proof is on the people who are actually running the election. The burden of proof isn't on the hired guns. The burden of proof isn't even on me. Although if I wanted to be, it could be. So we talked to the sheriffs, and they're actually interested in the whole water thing, which actually kind of turned out okay. So to be cool, we decided we were going to move. Just move away and let them have their day, right? But it was so funny because people saw what happened. They saw what happened. And in a weird way, it got kind of newsworthy. Like, oh my God, look what's going on. These people, and there were these older people who were, out on the street, on the corner, and they're waving like, the Ted Cruz signs. They got the MAGA caps on. And the woman says, "Oh, wow, that was really great. You got that fired up. You got that." She said, you got them fired up. That was fantastic. I was like, I don't know. I was just trying to, stand up for what I thought was our rights. But it was like she was very excited over the fact that the electoral people running the election, were running around like a Chinese fire drill. It was a very interesting experience. People saw it, right? And it wasn't like I was trying to cause a scene. I was just trying to, basically make them prove that we couldn't be there. Anyway, it was a very interesting experience, and we're just getting started on this. It's going to be I think it's going to be a real trip, and I'll keep you posted in what's going on with our process too. Oh, the other thing, this is funny. Okay, one more, and then we'll move on to the big stuff. So there was this one woman, and I got her to fill it out, but she didn't sign. You got to have that signature, right? So we're basically, kind of moving away from ground zero, moving out a little bit. And I see her walking down the street, and I called out her name. By this time, she was with a guy, and the guy was kind of typical, wearing a baseball cap like me, and wearing camo unlike me, although I don't have a problem with camo. I do not superficially type people. I always leave them space to emerge for the God within, to emerge from anybody that I meet to the best of my ability, right? And he's walking down the street with this woman. I said, hey, blank, you forgot to sign. And she says, oh, well, I'm gonna look it up more. Right now that she's with the dude, all of a sudden she's got a different attitude. And then he says, we like fluoride in our water. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. We like it. I can tell you like it. It's affected your IQ. Anyway. And then he says, hey, she's not going to sign the petition. She's not going to sign it. That's what he said. And I knew her, I remember her name. And I said, hey, blank, are you going to let him tell you what to do? Are you going to let him make up your mind for you? And then he turns around and he says, go harass somebody else. Oh, man. That was so fun. I mean, look, I don't mind. I don't mind being a bit of a shit disturber sometimes. Trump sent a hurricane to Mexico. Yeah, you want to get into it? You guys want to get into this caravan thing? Why don't we talk about it? Apparently, I'm not on the ground. Let's see. Somebody just said, Indigo Reina, waiting in Mazatlan for Willa and to photo our train in case we see Hondurans on top. Okay. Apparently, hello, Rhonda. Good morning. Apparently, this caravan is massive. Indigo is living in Sinaloa. Great. Well, tell you what, Indigo, come back tomorrow. And if you have anything you want to share, please share it in the chat room with us. It would be great to get some boots on the ground kind of intel to see what's happening. Because here, what I'm reading about, of course, it's what I'm reading about, is that this is yet another massive caravan. This is like a huge caravan. And it's not just people walking, but they're being bussed. They're on trains. I mean, this is a concentrated and focused effort. And apparently it's like getting ready to storm the gates, right? And Indigo Reina says Soros. Yep, probably, likely. I had somebody, who was it? The astrologer, what's her name? Chris Houston, who says Soros is dead. That could be. Soros could possibly be dead. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Soros, as we know, could be another version of an NPC, right? Just a higher level version of an NPC. I mean, reality is really very, how do we say this? Mutable. George Soros. I love it. That's a good one, Justice. George Soros. That's funny. So here we have this massive caravan coming. And look, I'm not a fear guy, but let's be clear. This is intense, man. This is really intense. If this is true, you got this swarm, and a lot of the people from this caravan, I think they've already plucked out like 10 people that are potentially like ISIS related. And I mean, this is going to be a very interesting time. as we come up towards the elections. It's like this is like the latest manufactured and strategic device to completely derail things. Okay, because what happens if Trump gets involved and stops this caravan? Let's say he sends the army or the National Guard in. What is it going to look like? It's going to look like he's a fascistic, a fascistic dictator, a dictatorial, fascistic, right? Dictator. This is what it's going to look like. And is that going to change the script for the midterms? No. No. You know why it won't? I'll tell you why. Because people are tired. And again, I'm not sitting here, swinging for the fences with Trump. I don't have to do that. There are plenty of other people out there. Okay? Plenty of other people out there. But what people want is they want somebody who's going to get shit done. Get shit done. Okay? That's what they want. I'm going to address that, Steve. I was going to talk about that. Bomb in the Soros mailbox. They want things done. People want things done. They don't want people to sit around and talk 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 and pass it back over here and pass it back over there and pass it back over here and pass it back over there. For whatever you think about Trump, he has the appearance of getting things done, and he has kind of gotten things done. Maybe he's gotten things done that you don't like. Maybe he's gotten things done that you do like. The bottom line is he's gotten some things done. He renegotiated NAFTA. He got it theoretically a better deal, although I don't have the specifics for that better deal, but he did it. Did Barack Obama renegotiate NAFTA? Did George Bush renegotiate NAFTA? Nope. Neither one of them. Doesn't matter what happened out of that deal. The renegotiation took place. He got us out of the TPP. He got something done. He got us out of the Paris Climate Accord. Got something done. He's gotten things done. Bottom line, whether you like it or not. I'm not a big fan of moving the embassy to Jerusalem. He got it done. By the way, I think when he did that, that basically assured him of at least another 2 years. He basically what about the tariffs? I mean, we're seeing things with Trump that we have not seen in any president for a very long time. Again, whether you like him or not, whether you think he's a good president or a flawed human, he's probably some degree of both. And I'm not a huge president guy, but clearly this is a very interesting time to watch what's taking place in this country. Now, he was in Houston over the weekend with Ted Cruz, and you should see the pictures. You should see the pictures of the crowds. They were enormous, like enormous. We're talking like I haven't seen this kind of turnout. Enormous. Huge. And Houston is typically a blue city because it's a very diverse, very, very diverse city. They usually vote Democrat. You go back to 2016 and you look at sort of the map of Texas, and you'll see kind of this, this blue, aura hanging out over Houston because that's the way Houstonians have voted. They generally tend to elect very liberal mayors. The last two mayors from Houston have both been gay. One has been a woman, the other's been a man. So here's Jasper again. It's his second appearance. So to watch that kind of like energy in Houston for a Trump Cruz rally, I'm telling you, the left is going to just get absolutely creamed in November. And look, if I'm wrong, I'll own up. I say, you know what, I was wrong. But based on what I'm seeing right now, the left is going to get creamed, and it's not even going to be close. They'll lose people. They're going to lose seats. Okay, it won't be like the Republicans gaining one. They're going to lose seats, and it's going to be ugly. Again, remember that I talked about a metric last week that in the state of Wyoming, between July 1st and it was like September 6th, right? July 1st to September 6th, 12,000 people changed their voter registration in Wyoming. And out of that change, 11,600 went from either being an independent or Democrat to being a Republican. There you go. That's the number you want to look at. That's the number from a statistical data point, right? And what you want to look at from the optics, the big optics, the thing that happened in Houston, that crowd, enormous, enormous. And what's going to happen after this election is going to be a free for all. I mean, it is really going to be a free for all, total free for all. I think the left is going to just lose their minds, and they're going to do everything in their power to just keep throwing whatever they can, you know, in the way of this train, this Trump train that is just going right down the tracks. And it's kind of mind blowing. You know, I was talking with Robert Bonamo. You know, Robert did 21 Faces of God. And we were talking about the election, this upcoming election. And Jasper, he's such a trip, isn't he? We were talking about this upcoming election. And we were talking about how, you know, back in the day, Democrats were kind of more like Kennedy. They were more for the working class, the working guy. You know, Democrats were really kind of nationalists in their own way, right? They represented unions. Trump comes out in this rally in Houston and he says, I'm a nationalist. I'm a nationalist. This is what he says. Like, holy shit, okay. It's a dirty word because globalism has been the order of the day for the last, you know, 30 years easily, if not more. Now, listen, Trump with his Sun and Uranus conjunction can flip it and say, well, I'm a globalist nationalist, or I mean, he can do this. This is Trump's genius and madness kind of at work, right? But we were talking about this. We're talking about the effects of, you know, where this is all going. And here's my piece, that if you look at the big picture, really, really look at the big picture, that, you know, we go back into this dialogue that I was having about 2 weeks ago with Jasper's going to bring it. Jasper's got powers, man. Do not underestimate Jasper, okay? Just Jasper is like this, you know, he's like this multidimensional entity. He's got powers. That's why I treat him so well. Anyway, what we're looking at here is something really significant. You know, I was talking about the Apollonian versus the Dionysian and how we're moving away from the Dionysian model. We're moving away from it. It's like what was stirred up in the 60s. This, you know, which was the 60s were a mega ritual, an absolute mega ritual. That's what the 60s were. Total mega ritual. And it was a mega ritual dedicated to Dionysus and Eleusinian cults, so the cults of mystery, right? And that's okay. I mean, that's fine. I'm not sitting here in judgment and saying, well, that was a big waste of time. It was a distraction. You know, I think it's interesting. We learned a lot. We learned a lot about sex. We learned a lot about magic. We learned a lot about music and myth and poetry. I mean, those were really, really rich times in a lot of ways. And those times come to an end. You know, just like there's a time in your life where things come to an end. Like you have a certain level of activity and then it's done. You know, if you're an athlete, sometimes you just stop. Like, I don't play pickup basketball anymore. Well, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to break my back. I'm just, you know, it's just, I'm done, right? There's certain times where things are just over and done with. And so collectively, we're moving into a new time. And this new time, hopefully, here's the hopeful part. This new time is hopefully the proper and the congruent expression and manifestation of the Apollonian consciousness, which is you as an individual get switched on. And it's not about magical thinking, but about magical doing. Okay. This is where the power is. This is where the power is. It is not about bowing down to allegiance with Donald Trump. That's not what it's about. He is a cipher about the energy that exists where you have the power to do magical doing, not magical thinking. Okay. This is where it's at. All right. They've been weakening Texas with flooding before. Yes, they have been. Absolutely. Totally weakening Texas. But us Texans, we're going to stand strong. We stand strong. By the way, next time I go out and I go for the signature thing, I'm wearing a cowboy hat. I'm going to wear a cowboy hat. I have two of them. And you've seen pictures of me. There's a picture of me right there, right at the top of the chat with a cowboy hat. So it's not like I'm just getting a cowboy hat just to wear. I've worn cowboy hats many times. So I'm going to go to I'm going to wear a cowboy hat. I'm going to see how. Look, this is just testing reality. I'm going to see how receptive people are to my cowboy hat when I go to get the signatures. I have cowboy boots too. I can wear those. Oh, that may be a bit. I see Annie cowboy boots. I do. I have them. I got some nice cowboy boots. Really nice. Really, really nice. Yeah. I don't have a big belt buckle though. I've not done that. It's a little weird. Don't wear your Phillies hat. I kind of did. Not kind of did. I did wear. They don't know. It was just a baseball. They don't know what that means, right? Round off the look. Yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway, this is what's happening now. People are feeling, right? People are feeling that they can have, like, this is the one thing about Trump. I've been saying this for a long time. It's not about Trump, but it's about the energy. Like, people were like, there were people on Facebook that were kind of ripping me, and good friends, not bad people, but they were kind of ripping me, or like, oh yeah, he's just another politician. I'm saying, listen, it's not about him. It is about the release of the energy. We got to ride the energy, and you apply that energy to your life. Okay. And remember, when we talk about Apollonian consciousness, this is the light of day. And daytime is where solar activity takes place. This is where productivity takes place. There's a different productivity at nighttime. But we're coming into this like interesting balance. Another thing that's really interesting are the studies around sleep and how sleep is becoming, more and more important in terms of the body's processes. Athletes now are into this whole science of sleep, and they all try to get to bed by 10 o'clock at night because they're realizing now that by getting good, restful sleep, that their careers can actually be prolonged. Their body can regenerate. They can recover from injuries faster. So what does that mean? It means that we're putting that nighttime consciousness into context, right? And then we're like, okay, well, here's what nighttime is for. Is for actually, going to sleep and going to bed and waking up and getting up. And guess what? Getting into the day so that we can have our connection with activity. We are in a time of activity. That's where we are. And I think it's great. I think it's totally great. Kale has sleep is the great healer. Absolutely. Absolutely. We undersell sleep all the time. But now all the science is talking about how important, and it is. It's like really important. Totally, totally important. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about this caravan and some of the astrological implications of the caravan. And we had a great webinar for those of you who joined us on Saturday. It was a totally great webinar, and you can still grab it. You can get it. I'll put a link up on my page to see. Hey, Gina, good morning to you. I'll put it up here as one of the links in the show page here. But it's a great webinar, and it's like almost 5 hours long. It's just tons of information on personal astrology and mundane astrology for where we're headed. So we talked about some of this on the webinar, but I'll bring it up here with Jupiter and Sagittarius. We can always, always, always get an idea as to where things are going by the final degrees of a sign that's leaving and going into the next sign. We can kind of get that, that telescope and go, okay, here it comes, right? So we have Jupiter and Sagittarius coming. And what do we see coming up from the border? This massive wave. We talk about Jupiter, we talk about big, massive expansion, Sagittarius, other countries, other cultures, here it comes. This wave is coming this caravan wave is coming towards the United States. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Now, again, if the Democrats and Soros who knows? I mean, maybe even Trump is behind it, okay? Maybe. I'm not saying he is, but you never know with politics. You got to cover like every little bit of an angle. But let's just say it's the left, and they're throwing all their resources into this thing so there could be a confrontation, and it could look ugly or bad. I'm telling you right now, it won't. It won't. Trump, if Trump throws the troops down there and they have to combat this stuff, he'll wind up looking good. And I was talking to Robert today, Robert from the 21 Faces of God, and I said, go back and look at everything Trump has done. From when he was in the primaries, what did he do? He just started picking off people right and left, winning. I'm not here to be like, a Trump, but you just look at it. He won all that stuff, right? He won. And then it was a little shaky, and there was the Electoral College thing and the Jill Stein recount thing. Got through that. And then almost like within weeks of him being elected, Mueller and Russia. Well, where is Mueller and where is Russiagate? It is just fizzled. It is fizzled. It is the most flaccid, witch hunt that we've seen. I mean, terrible, absolutely terrible. There's nothing there. Nothing. They've been at this for almost 2 years now. 2 years and millions and millions and millions of dollars. Our dollars, our tax dollars being spent on this bullshit. And the best they could come up with is Paul Manafort and his income taxes. Are you kidding me? Forcing these people to try to give over state's evidence to somehow indict Donald Trump. Well, guess what? Trump's going to win it. He's going to win this. He won the Supreme Court twice, both with Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. He lost the travel ban thing. Stormy Daniels, where is she now? Right? Omarosa, where is she now? He is weathering these storms. He's had Mars going through his sixth house, open enemies, and the guy just keeps winning. I'm not here to tell you that I'm so in love with the man and his character, but you can just see what's happening. And the midterms won't be any exception. So if the plan is to bring this horde of people to the border, and Trump is forced to come in, and it'll be the Democrats' worst nightmare, because he'll actually look like somebody who's doing something. And they'll try to play off that whole separating kids from their family stuff. But it's just not going to fly. Trump is Mr. Catalyst, and we need change. Absolutely. He must have a good astrologer. He probably does. I bet he does. They all consult with astrologers. We are winning with grace. It's a really I'm telling you, man, this is a really interesting time to be alive. It's totally an interesting time to be alive. I want to go back to Stephen's comment about bomb in Soros mailbox, yet the employee takes it out and moves it to the woods. Is anyone here picking up a bomb and carrying it off? Oh, yeah. I mean, first of all, we see bombs on a daily basis, and we all know what to do when we see a bomb. The first thing to do is you go in and you get your gloves, right? You got to have gloves to remove a bomb, and goggles just in case, or any shards, right? And then once you figure out where that bomb is, you got to go get your bucket of water, right? And you take the bomb and you slowly put it into a bucket of water. This is bomb protocol in case you find a bomb on your property. No, of course not. Nobody's going to know what to do with a bomb. I mean, are you kidding me? No. But maybe Soros's employees are trained in bomb removal. Maybe they go to bomb removal week seminars, right? In case of finding a bomb in Mr. Soros's mailbox, here's what you do. No, it's like, yeah, what is that all about? And then we've had these whole, things around the letters with the white powder, that always gets shipped out. It's like, oh, wow, here we go, white powder time. What a trip, huh? What a total trip. I put a comment on this one guy's YouTube page, and it's gotten like 200 likes. on this guy's, and he's one of these guys who's like a YouTube newscaster. People fancy themselves as YouTube newscasters. I mean, I kind of do. I bring the news, right? But in maybe a bit of a different kind of way. Anyway, I put this thing up and I said, look, Trump is the most inadvertent, transparent president we've ever had. The most inadvertently transparent president we've ever had. It's true. And people were like really pissed. Like, how do you, transparent. And we talked about this before. How transparent was Obama? He wasn't transparent at all. I mean, that was the most guarded, occluded, secret presidency we've ever seen. And Bush, there's no transparency there. Although maybe people kept saying, "Oh my God, he's messing up Iraq. He could be doing such a better." I was like, "No, they're not. He's doing a great job. His job was to fuck up Iraq. That's what his job was. Fuck it up. Create chaos. It wasn't about rebuilding and restoring. And no, it was like keep them down, keep them impoverished. Keep people fighting, keep the factions against one another, so there can be no centralized kind of or organized person to assemble people and create a resistance against the multinational globalist occupiers. People are like, he's doing a terrible. No, he was doing a great job. He's doing exactly what they told him to do. Perfect, right? But transparent? No. Trump inadvertently incredibly transparent. They can't understand that. They're like, oh, that's doublespeak. No, it's not doublespeak. We're seeing things we've never seen before, which leads me to the next piece, Khashoggi, the whole Khashoggi thing. Where do we go with this? Now, here's where I think we go with this. I think we go we got to cut ties with Saudi Arabia somehow. I was watching Steve Pieczenik last night. And I actually like Steve Pieczenik, but last night, I got to say, Steve Pieczenik really disappointed me. He disappointed me. Not that Steve Pieczenik gives a shit, but he was talking about what to do in Saudi Arabia. Let me see if I can do my Steve Pieczenik. Let me see. My agent, Ari Emanuel. I can't even do Steve. I'd have to spend a little more time. Anyway, he was talking about the thing to do is to create a moderate government inside of Saudi Arabia. Steve, it wasn't that enlightening. And then he went on to talk about, he quoted, his agent is Ari Emanuel, the Hollywood super agent, and the brother of Ezekiel Emanuel, who will be the former mayor of Chicago. It's too bad he can't stay mayor because that guy will create chaos somewhere else now. The Emanuels, their parents were part of the Irgun gang, and their parents were part of the bombing at the King David Hotel. And it was the King David Hotel which basically helped create the Zionist state of Israel. And their parents were part of that gang led by David Ben-Gurion and others. So that's where they come from. And of course, the third brother was the guy that, is basically a eugenicist and wrote Obamacare. What a trifecta, right? Hollywood super agent, Rahm Emanuel, and then Zeke Emanuel. Ari, Rahm, and Zeke. Rahm being the mayor, Zeke being the other brother who wrote Obamacare. Okay. And so Steve Pieczenik quotes Ari Emanuel, Rahm Emanuel, never let a good crisis go to waste. He's quoting, what is up with Steve Pieczenik? It was like the worst episode I've seen on this guy. We have to create a moderate, here we go, now I'm getting a moderate faction in Saudi Arabia. I told Donald Trump that this is what we're doing. I'm trying. I can nail it. I'm getting close to the Pieczenik. And I was like, why? Why even make this recording? Why? You're supposed to be somebody who is kind of an insider, really bright, psychological operations. And he's talking about promoting this 32-year-old 32-year-old African-American moderate Muslim to be ambassador to Saudi Arabia. It just wasn't that enlightening. But it's interesting now because we get to see what's going on in Saudi Arabia and what's been going on for a very long time in Saudi Arabia. Although this is the explication of the process, right? It's the explication of what's going on there and what's been going on there for a very long time. And guess what? Now we get to see it. It's not just transparency potentially in our government or with the media and what's been taking place, but also in other governments. Keep your eye on this. The Saudi Arabia thing is very interesting, the Khashoggi stuff. You know, there's a really good article on Macau. Let me see if I can find it. And it has to do with Khashoggi's murder, why the fuss. I'm just going to read you. And this paragraph, I don't always agree with what Henry writes, but this is a pretty good one. He says, famine, starvation, 100,000 dead in Saudi war on Yemen. School buses strafed, women are stoned for adultery. None of this registered until a journalist is murdered. Why? Khashoggi was an important member of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is Freemasonry of the communist Soros stripe. Under the guise of Islamism, they advanced globalism by supplanting nation states like Syria, Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. They are Al-Qaeda and ISIS. In the Masonic dialectic, their enemy is the Zionists, nationalists / Israel, Trump, Saudi Arabia, etc. The fact Khashoggi wrote for Jeff Bezos, globalist Washington Post, is a giveaway. Below, some background info on the Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, so there's a big piece on the Muslim Brotherhood. So Macau is making this connection. Because the Muslim Brotherhood are the force. They're the force that set up Osama bin Laden, right? The Muslim Brotherhood is a manufactured entity of the MI6. They were manufactured with MI5, and they were there, boots on the ground, with the creation of the nation, not even the nation state, just the creation of the state of Saudi Arabia. I guess it would be a theocracy, the theocracy of Saudi Arabia, which has at the top this connection between the ruling family, which is the Saudi family, right? The Saudi, that's where it's Saudi Arabia. It's the Saudi family. It's the Saudi family, and linking it to the extreme ideology of the Wahhabists and the Salafists, right? So this is where we get theocracy. And that was put into place in the 1930s. What we're seeing now is we're starting to see what's behind the curtain. We're starting to see how grisly the Saudis are. Well, that happened a while ago when they started taking those guys into the Hilton, right? And torturing them to get the money out of them. And then now we're seeing a whole other level of this thing with Khashoggi. We're also seeing that Khashoggi is an operative. It's exactly what he was. He was more than a journalist. He was an operative. Again, exposure, the explication of their order. That's what's going on. This is fascinating. I'm telling you, we are living in revelatory times. And every day I wake up and I just ask myself, what's going to happen next? And not in a bad way, right? I'm like, what's going to happen next? What else do we get to see? And a lot of this is very liberating. It's very liberating. If we're living in shadows, if we're cloaked in shadows, what are we living in? We're living in fear. Right now we get to see this stuff, and it's like it's almost sort of commensurate with this sort of draining off of fear in a lot of ways, because the shadows are coming to life. I mean, look, we can see this across the board. I'm watching stuff on like Netflix, or I'm watching shows that are being created for Amazon Prime, and they're like so satanic. And I'm not sitting here as like an end times Christian, condemning it. I'm sitting here looking at it and saying, look at this. It is so out in the open right now. Everything is out in the open. And when everything is out in the open, there's more of a chance for us to like name it, put a face on it, put a pin on it. It doesn't have power over us. And we can say, oh, look what they're doing. They're amassing. They're using all their power, to flip people and get them to, leave God and move over to atheism or Satanism or whatever it is. Well, probably that's true, right? But it's out there now and we get to see it. It's like, well, how about that? Look at that. We'll build up on that. And what happens is when this stuff hits the light of day, it loses its mystery. It loses its allure. Okay? Because you can only run with something for just a certain amount of time. And all of a sudden people get tired of it. It's like, oh, really? Satanism. Man, that was so 2018. That was so 2018. Mind control. Man, that was so 2019. Yeah, we're moving beyond it. We are moving beyond it. And if you're listening or watching this, or you're in the chat room, you're there. You're there. We're moving beyond this stuff. And it's liberating. It's liberating and it's freeing, right? This is the next level after conspiracy theory because we're watching all the stuff getting played out. There is no more conspiracy theory, right? It's conspiracy playhouse. We're just watching it all getting played out. It's fantastic. I love it because it frees us up to get in touch with our energies, which are really important and they can make really radical changes for you in your life. Now, there's a whole other thing going on with the economy. There's a whole other thing with 5G. There's a whole other thing with Agenda 21. There's a whole other thing with Agenda 2030. Okay, that's going to come out. It's going to come out at some point. That's going to be on the table too. The best laid plans, man. I'm telling you, they're going to try to pen us in, and people are going to wake up to that. They're not. We're already being lulled to sleep with TV. I would say out of every 5 commercials on TV now, I'm seeing something that is connected to a robot or AI. That is the next big wave. It's coming. It is going to be the next socio-economic wave. There are going to be people who are going to make billions off of robotics and AI. It's coming. It is coming. And they want to. They want to invest in it, right? That's going to be something we're going to have to stare down. And there's going to be so much money. There's so much hype. There's so much pre-programming around it. Just watch TV. You'll see what I'm talking about. I saw oh my God. It was this commercial was frightening. I don't even know what this robot does. But it was a commercial where there are robots that are doing really questionable things. Like there's these 2 drones that are flying, and one drone has part of a blankie. The other drone has another part of a blankie. And in the center of the blankie is a baby. And there are all these horror kinds of scenarios of bad robots. But then there's this little robot. It's a good little robot. It's a good little robot. And it's getting you into this idea at a very fundamental level that robots are nice and fun and sweet, unlike those other nasty robots that are going to be coming in your direction. So this is where we're going. This is where the next wave of this stuff is. It's going to be a bit more difficult to navigate through. I'm just telling you because so many people are poised to make so much money. It's like stupid money. And they'll be manufacturing. It won't be robots manufacturing robots in the beginning. That'll happen later. It'll be humans manufacturing robots, AI. There'll be jobs, like a new boom, new economic boom, new kind of industrial wave. And let's hope that we're not just participating in our own planned obsolescence, which it does have the potential to be. All right, let me check in with you guys in the chat room, see what's going on in there. Get the chatting going on. Jasper is going to rig the election. Yes, bring shout out to light. Absolutely. Equicentric, not for me. Thanks. I need to reload the page. The AI stuff is so unappealing. Over my dead body. Zero Hedge article on company that chips people. 100,000 so far. Yeah, it's going to be the new sexy, but I'm telling you, the only way AI and the chip is going to work is if they crash the economy. And if that happens, we have the reset, then all bets are off. And you should always be somewhat prepared for that. Okay? Jupiter's culminating Scorpio is digging it all up. Yes, Ani, that is true. Absolutely true. If it works as well as my Mac, good luck. I hope you must have a new Mac. This Mac that I have, man, it's from 2009. It's one of the best years. It's a warhorse, absolute warhorse. I love it. I'm never going to get rid of this computer. I'll replace the damn motherboard if I have to. I think that's it. I think that's it for today. There's a lot going on. Look, I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to tell you this is my repeated mantra, and I only try to do my best to share with you what I am internally in agreement with. And this is an incredible time to be alive because we're watching everything come to the surface. And when it does, it has no power over us. And we get to dispel fear. We get to dissipate fear. And we move into a whole other arena. And that arena is love, and it's loving, your neighbors. It's loving the people in your life. It's loving your animals. It's loving the water that you drink and loving it to the point where you want to get the shit out of it, right? This is the true power of love. And that tide is rising. Don't be afraid to surf that. All right. Seriously, this tech AI is going to disappear up its own. Hey, look, there can be good examples of tech coming online. I'm not a complete Luddite, but I believe that the litmus has always got to be, is it in service to generating either greater creativity, more human interactivity, more human interactivity, not less. We need more human interactivity. If it does those things, then it has the potential to be something that can contribute, because it's not going away. But I think we have to be able to be stewards of that as well. All right, everybody, listen, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for being patient and with me not being here, although I'm sure, after about 5 minutes, you're like, okay, I'm on with my life. But thanks for being patient. I'll be back tomorrow with another edition of 15 Minutes of Flame. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to see what's possible. And I have a schedule for class at 11 today. Yes, you do, Anna. I know. It's true. You're on my calendar. All right. See you, everybody. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.